Welcome back to another This or That. And this or that is for 2 to 4-year-old boys. And I'm going to show some of the most common items that are sent and give you my opinion on which I would send and why. So let's start with colored pencils or crayons. Which would I send for a 2 to 4-year-old boy? I would send crayons. Younger kids tend to have a little bit more success. They don't need sharpened, so they're not going to need help to sharpen them. And so younger kids tend to color more with crayons. Although I will give a little caveat, these are my least favorite crayons. These ones are dollar store crayons. And I will say, of all the crayons that I have used teaching kindergarten, working with kids in ministry, these ones break the easiest. I don't know why, but they just hold it at the wrong angle and it snaps in half. Or even the top pointy part breaks off. And so I would avoid these ones, but any other brand of crayons, I would say crayons over colored pencils. So that's my first this or that for 2 to 4-year-old boys. Next is, would I send a stuffed animal or an action figure? Now, please imagine that this is like a Batman, Spider-Man, Superman action figure. I have a 2-year-old girl and tried to find things around the house to do this. And this was the closest thing that I could find to an action figure. So stuffed animal or action figure. For a 2 to 4-year-old boy, I would lean towards a stuffed animal. They just seem to be more into the cuddly, lovely. Could you send both or either or? Yes. This is just a personal opinion, what I have seen 2 to 4-year-old boys gravitate towards. And I would choose to send a stuffed animal. Would I send to a 2 to 4-year-old boy a large car or a Hot Wheels car? This one is a personal opinion again, but I would choose to send the larger car. This, with their dexterity and mobility, it just gives them more success moving it. They have a lot of fun. They do inventive play with these at about that age. And so large, oh, this one lights up and has sounds. I just found a button. But large cars kind of give them a little bit more of that ability to play. The Hot Wheels cars, they will still play with. So if you chose to send those, they're not wrong. I just would prefer or choose to send a larger toy car. This or that. Would I send pens or markers? I would choose to send markers. So with this, the pens, again, if you don't hold it at the right angle, pens don't tend to write. And so for them to have more coloring and writing success, markers. Also, they are not going to school necessarily, so they don't need red, blue, black pens. So if you're debating between pens or markers, I would go with markers. Now let's throw in all of these different options. If I am debating between colored pencils, crayons, markers, or pens, so all 4 of these options, if I'm doing that, this or that, I would choose personally to send the crayons. Simply because markers will eventually dry out. Crayons, yes, they get used up as well, but I feel like they get used a little bit less quickly. Markers, if you leave the cap off, it's gone in a day. And so I tend to notice that kids have more fun and longer term with crayons. Also, you can typically get more crayons in a box. So if you send 10 crayons versus able to send 3 or 4 markers, taking up the same amount of space, then they're going to have more colors to choose from. I also think cost-wise, you can get better color options and more options to send with crayons than markers. Markers tend to be a little bit more expensive. And so if you're choosing between all of these school supply type items and only could pick one, whether it's because of budget or because of space, I would choose crayons over all of them. Again, not this brand. All right, very last thing for 2 to 4-year-old boys. If I were to choose to send a sports equipment, a sports ball, would I choose a big ball or big item, or would I choose a smaller? So again, this isn't a huge size difference. I'm talking like size 5 soccer balls. I think this is a size 3. And so this one's still considered pretty small. But what would I do? Would I send smaller or would I send a larger sports item? These kids also love to play with sports. So sports is a great item to send if you can find them at a great price or something that fits in your box. But I would personally choose the smaller item simply because it takes up less space. If you send something like this, send it deflated and make sure you send a pump with it. But there are also other sports item options. So I'm going to hold up a couple others. This is a squishy baseball. This would be a phenomenal option for 2 to 4. And this is one of my favorite things that I have seen in 2 to 4 boxes, and they always come deflated. I don't see them very often, but this type of ball, you can deflate it. It's one of those like squishy rubbery balls, and send a pump with it. And then this turns into a ball that with their motor skills, they need larger items to catch. They can play all sorts of things. You can kick this, you can throw it, you can do basketball, soccer, football, baseball. And so these ones are very versatile, and it's not telling them which sport it has to be used for. This one obviously says soccer to them. This one says that it's a baseball. So one fun thing about this is that they can be more creative with how they play about it. But I would love these. Again, you would have to have space to have the pump and this deflated. If you're going to send a soccer ball type, I would even go with the smaller one just because you can often find them for a little bit cheaper price, and you can deflate them and send them. Again, it needs a pump. If you don't have room or can't afford to send a ball and a pump, then these two options are kind of out, but you could still send something more squishy. I wouldn't send anything hard, like a hard baseball or something like that, but this would be another great option. So lots of choices with the this or that sports equipment for 2 to 4 year old boys, just giving some of my thoughts and opinions. But if I chose from all of these, I would probably pick this one if I had room for the pump as well. And if I didn't have room for the pump or didn't have a pump, something like this is really fun. So those are just my opinions. That is 2 to 4 boys. Now, 2 to 4 girls is going to be a little bit similar. It's going to be the next video you see, but I'm going to add a few extra tidbits. So stick around for the 2 to 4 girls. If you haven't subscribed, make sure you do that so that you don't miss these next upcoming videos on OCC, this or that. We're getting so close to National Collection Week, and so I want to get these out for you guys. So that is my 2 to 4 year old boy suggestions.